"I'll disappear at dawn," said the bride, laughing, and the groom couldn't believe what he just heard. Thomas Mitchell felt his heart race as he tried to process the words he'd just heard through the wall. There were only 3 hours left until the ceremony that would change his life forever, and now everything seemed to be falling apart. "I'll disappear at dawn. It's all arranged," said Amanda, his bride, with a laugh that echoed down the hallway and struck Thomas like a knife to the heart. He had come looking for her in the bridesmaids' room to deliver the gift he'd bought especially for her to open before the ceremony. But now he stood frozen behind the wall, trying to understand what those words meant. His blood felt like it had turned to ice. "Seriously, Amanda, are you sure about this?" asked one of the bridesmaids, and Thomas recognized the voice of Jessica, Amanda's best friend since college. "I am. I can't keep pretending everything's fine. You all know how much I dreamed of that position at the architecture firm in New York City. It was the chance of a lifetime, and he wouldn't even listen. Said a married woman's place is by her husband's side." Thomas's legs went weak. He remembered that conversation perfectly. It had been 6 months ago when Amanda received an offer to work at one of the country's top architecture firms. He truly believed she should refuse. After all, they were getting married, starting a family. Why complicate things with a job in another city? "But Amanda, you two can talk about this after the wedding," said another voice, probably Jennifer, Amanda's cousin. "Talk?" Amanda let out a bitter laugh. "Jennifer, I've been trying to talk to him about my dreams, my plans for 2 years. He always changes the subject or says we'll figure it out after the wedding. Well, now I've figured it out." "And what exactly are you going to do?" asked Jessica, her tone suggesting she already knew the answer. "I'm going to New York City. The position is still open. The company's director called me yesterday saying I was their top candidate and that I could accept until tomorrow morning." Thomas had to lean against the wall. The gift slipped from his hands and hit the floor with a dull thud. He held his breath, afraid they might have heard, but the voices continued. "Did you leave him a letter?" asked Jennifer. "Several. One for him, one for his family, one for my parents. I explained everything, that I can't keep living a life that isn't mine, that I need to figure out who I am before I become someone's wife." "What if he finds you before you leave?" Jessica pressed. "He won't. My ticket is for 5 in the morning. By the time he wakes up, I'll be long gone." Thomas couldn't listen anymore. The world around him seemed to spin. Amanda, the woman he'd loved for 5 years, the woman he'd planned a future with, was planning to leave him at the altar. Worse, she was planning to leave before the ceremony even began. He stumbled away, trying to find a place where he could breathe. The hallway of the hotel where they were preparing for the wedding felt endless. Every step echoed in his ears, a reminder that in just a few hours he'd be standing alone at the altar, explaining to 300 guests why the bride never showed up. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers out. Now continuing. Thomas found a bench at the end of the hallway and sat down, burying his head in his hands. How had it come to this? When had everything started going wrong? He always thought he was being a good fiancé, a good man. He protected Amanda, made the tough decisions so she wouldn't have to worry. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was his mother, Barbara. "Thomas, son, where are you? The priest just arrived and wants to speak with both of you about the final details of the ceremony." "Mom, He tried to form the words but couldn't. "What is it, my son? Your voice sounds strange." "I need to talk to you, alone. It's urgent." "Of course, sweetheart, I'm in the main hall. Come here." Thomas hung up the phone and took a deep breath. He needed to tell someone what he had discovered, and his mother had always been his confidant. She would know what to do. He found Mrs. Barbara arranging the flower decorations in the hall where the reception would be held. She was a 65-year-old woman, elegant and determined, who had always known how to guide the family through difficult times. When she saw her son's face, she immediately stopped what she was doing. "Thomas, you're pale. What happened?" He told her everything, every word he had heard, every detail of the conversation between Amanda and the bridesmaids. Mrs. Barbara listened in silence with an expression Thomas couldn't decipher. "So now, Mom, What do I do? How do I stop this? Mrs. Barbara sighed deeply and sat in one of the decorated chairs. Son, I need to tell you something I've never told you before. What do you mean? About my marriage to your father? About how it really happened? Thomas sat beside her, intrigued. His parents had always been an example of a happy marriage to him. When I was 23, I received a scholarship to pursue a master's degree in education in Washington, D.C. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a chance to specialize and build a solid career in education. You never told me that. Because your father convinced me to turn it down. He said a woman's place was beside her husband, taking care of the home and children, that I didn't need to study further because he earned enough to support the family. Thomas felt a chill in his stomach. His mother's words were eerily similar to what he himself had said to Amanda. And you accepted it? I did, and I've regretted it every single day of my life. Mrs. Barbara's eyes filled with tears. Don't get me wrong, son. I love your father. I love you and your sister. But I've always wondered what my life would have been like if I had followed my dreams. Mom, I didn't know. Of course you didn't, because I learned to hide my frustration, just like Amanda has learned. How many times have you seen her talk about work and change the subject? Thomas thought for a few seconds. It was true. Whenever Amanda mentioned her career, he would deflect or steer the conversation toward wedding plans and children. Many times, he admitted, ashamed. Then maybe the problem isn't her wanting to leave, but you never letting her stay. What do you mean? Stay as herself, Thomas. Stay with her dreams intact. You love her, but you love a version of her that you created in your head. The Amanda who accepts your decisions without question, who gives up her own plans to follow yours. His mother's words hit Thomas like a punch to the gut. He had never thought of it that way. What do I do now, Mum? First, you need to figure out if you truly love the real Amanda, or if you just love the idea of controlling someone. Then, you need to decide if you're willing to let go of that control to have a chance at staying with her. At that moment, Jessica appeared in the hall looking for something. When she saw Thomas and Mrs. Barbara, she hesitated. Excuse me, I just came to get... She stopped, sensing the tension in the air. Jessica, Thomas stood up. I need to talk to you. I have nothing to say to you, Thomas. Please, I know about Amanda's plans. Jessica's eyes widened, and she glanced at Mrs. Barbara, who gestured for her to sit down. Just say what you want, Jessica said, clearly nervous. I want to know how long this has been planned. This what? Her escape. How long have you all been planning this? Jessica sighed and sat down. 6 months, Thomas. Since the day she got that job offer, and you said she couldn't accept it. But why didn't she talk to me? Why didn't she try to explain? Explain? Jessica let out a dry laugh. Thomas, she tried, multiple times, but you always shut it down. Always said you'd talk about it after the wedding. I was trying to protect her. New York City is dangerous, it's far from family. You were trying to control her, Jessica cut him off, and she realized that. That's why she asked for my help. You helped her plan all this? I did. And I'd do it again. Because I watched my best friend waste away for months, pretending to be happy with a marriage that would crush her dreams. Mrs. Barbara approached Jessica. Sweetheart, can I ask you something? Where is she now? Why? Because my son needs to talk to her. For real this time. Not trying to convince her of what's best for her, but listening to what she has to say. Jessica eyed Thomas skeptically. She's in her room, packing the last of her things. But, Thomas, if you go in there to try and talk her out of it... I won't, Thomas interrupted. I'm going to apologize and to tell her she was right. Jessica studied him for a few seconds before nodding. Fine, but I'm coming with you. And if you pull anything, I'll end you. Thomas agreed, and the three headed to the elevator. On the way, Mrs. Barbara held her son's hand. Remember what I said, son. If you truly love her, let her be free, even if it means losing her. They reached Amanda's room, and Jessica knocked. Amanda, it's me. Can I come in? Of course, Jess. When the door opened, Thomas saw Amanda for the first time that day. She wore a simple dress, her hair in a messy bun, and an open suitcase lay on the bed. At the sight of him, she froze. "What's he doing here?" she asked, looking at Jessica. "He knows everything, Amanda. Heard our conversation." Amanda closed her eyes and sighed. "So he knows I'm not getting married." "I do," Thomas said, stepping forward. "And I came to say you're right." "What?" "You're right to leave. You're right to follow your dreams. And I was wrong to try and stop you." Amanda stared at him warily. "Is this a joke? Are you trying reverse psychology to get me to stay?" "No, Amanda, I mean it. My mom just told me she went through the same thing 30 years ago, and she regretted staying." Mrs. Barbara stepped closer and took Amanda's hands. "Sweetheart, I've never interfered in your relationship, but now I have to speak up. Go to New York City. Follow your dreams. Don't make the same mistake I did." Amanda began to cry. "Mrs. Barbara, I never wanted it to be like this. I love Thomas, but I can't keep living a life that isn't mine." "And you shouldn't," Mrs. Barbara said. "Real love doesn't ask you to give up who you are." Thomas moved closer. "Can I talk to you? Alone?" Jessica and Mrs. Barbara left the room, leaving the two of them. Amanda sat on the bed beside the suitcase, while Thomas stood by the window. "Amanda, I need to apologize." "For what?" "For everything. For never really listening. For always thinking I knew what was best for you, for trying to turn you into someone you're not." Amanda wiped her tears. "Thomas, I tried to talk to you about this so many times. I know. And I always dodged it because deep down, I knew you were right. I knew if you went to New York City, you'd realize you could live without me. And that terrified me. It's not that I can live without you. It's that I need to figure out who I am when I'm not trying to please you all the time." Thomas sat in the armchair across from the bed. "You're right, and I want you to go." "What?" "I want you to go to New York City. I want you to accept that job. I want you to be happy." "Are you serious?" "I am. And I want to make you an offer." Amanda looked at him curiously. "What kind of offer?" "Call off the wedding today. Go to New York City. Stay there as long as you need. Figure out who you are away from me. And if one day you feel like trying again, call me. And if I never call, then I'll know that making this decision was proof that I truly love you." Amanda stayed silent for a few minutes, processing Thomas's words. "Why are you doing this?" "Because my mother made me realize I wasn't loving you, I was trapping you, and when you love someone, you set them free." Just then, there was a knock at the door. It was Jennifer, Amanda's cousin. "Amanda, can I come in? I need to talk to you urgently." "Of course, come in." Jennifer entered the room and saw Thomas there. "Oh, you already know," she said, turning to Thomas. "Yes, I do." "Good, because I have news that might change everything." "What news?" Amanda asked. "I just spoke to Rebecca, that friend of ours who works at the architecture firm in New York City. And she told me the company is opening a branch here in Chicago. They're looking for someone to lead the project." Amanda's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "Apparently, they were so impressed with your portfolio that they want to offer you the chance to oversee the new branch here. Same position, same salary, but no need to move." Thomas felt a mix of relief and confusion. It would be the perfect solution, but at the same time, he wondered if Amanda would accept it, or see it as another attempt to control her. "Jennifer, is this true?" Amanda asked. "Yes. Rebecca said the official offer will come on Monday, but they wanted to know if you'd be interested." Amanda looked at Thomas. "And you? What do you think?" "I think the decision is yours, Amanda. Entirely yours. If you want to go to New York City, I'll support you. If you want to stay and take this offer, I'll support that too." "Really? Really? The only thing I want is for you to be happy and fulfilled. With or without me." Amanda stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the guests were already arriving for the ceremony. In a few hours, everyone would be gathered, expecting a wedding that might not happen. "Thomas, if I decide to stay, some things will have to change." "Like what?" "First, I'm taking this job, whether we're married or not. My career isn't negotiable. Agreed. Second, decisions about our future will be made together. No more you deciding what's best for me. Agreed. And third, she paused, as if gathering courage to speak. I want to travel, see new places, different cultures, and I want you to come with me, not as someone protecting me, but as my adventure partner. Thomas smiled for the first time that day. That can be arranged. Are you sure? Because I don't want you to go back to being the same controlling man in a few months. Amanda, today I learned a lesson I'll never forget. Love isn't about possession, it's about partnership. Jennifer, who had been listening to the whole conversation, smiled. So, is there still a wedding today? Amanda looked at Thomas. There is, but not the one we planned. What do you mean? Thomas asked. We'll go down there and tell everyone what happened. We'll explain that there almost wasn't a wedding because I almost ran off to New York City, and we'll get married knowing we both chose to be here, not because someone forced us, but because we want to. Are you sure about this? I am. But first I want you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me that if I ever get another job offer somewhere else, or if I want to do something you don't understand, you'll trust me and support me. I promise. And I promise I won't keep my feelings to myself just to avoid conflict anymore. If something bothers me, I'll say it right away. Deal. They hugged, and for the first time in months, Amanda felt like she was being held by the man she loved, not the man who wanted to control her. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us who are just starting out. Now back to the story. Jennifer clapped her hands. Wonderful. Now let's tell everyone the wedding is back on. But first, Amanda, you need to get ready. The wedding dress won't put itself on. Actually, said Amanda, I want to change a few things about the wedding. What kind of things? Asked Thomas. I want to rewrite our vows. I want them to be true, to reflect who we really are and what we truly want from each other. I'd love that. And I want the reception to feel more like us, less formal, more fun. We can make that happen, said Jennifer. Leave it to me. Just then, the door opened and Jessica walked in with Barbara. So, asked Jessica, is the wedding happening or not? It's happening, Amanda said, smiling. But it'll be different from what we planned. Different how? Asked Barbara. More honest, Thomas replied. We're getting married because we choose to be together, not because it's what's expected of us. Barbara smiled and hugged them both. That's wonderful, my dears, just wonderful. Barbara, Amanda said, thank you for opening your son's eyes, and thank you for sharing your story with me. Of course, my dear. Now, let's get you two ready. The guests are already arriving. The next 2 hours were a whirlwind. Amanda had to dress and do her makeup quickly, while Thomas rushed to inform the priest about the changes to the vows. Jennifer and Jessica took charge of telling the other bridesmaids and groomsmen about the adjustments to the ceremony. By the time it was time to walk down the aisle, Amanda was radiant. The wedding dress made her even more beautiful, but what truly transformed her was the light in her eyes. For the first time in months, she was genuinely happy. Barbara walked her to the church entrance. My dear, can I ask you something? Of course, Barbara. Are you sure this is what you want? You're not doing this just because you feel pressured? I'm sure. Today I learned that the Thomas I fell in love with is still there. He was just hiding behind the fear of losing me. And you're sure he's really changed? I'm not sure of anything, Barbara, but I'm sure I want to try. And if it doesn't work out now, I know I have the courage to follow my own path. Then go and be happy, my dear. The ceremony was unlike anything Amanda had imagined. When it came time for the vows, she and Thomas spoke openly to the 300 guests about how pride and fear had nearly cost them each other. Amanda, Thomas said, holding her hands, I promise I'll never try to decide what's best for you again. I promise I'll support your dreams, even when they scare me. And I promise I'll work every day to be your partner, not your controller. Thomas, Amanda said, her eyes filled with tears, I promise I'll never hide my feelings to avoid conflict again. I promise I'll fight for my dreams and for our dreams together. And I promise that if I ever feel like running away, I'll talk to you first." There wasn't a dry eye in the church. Many of the older women among the guests saw themselves in Amanda's story. Others remembered dreams they had abandoned for the sake of marriage. When the priest declared them husband and wife, the entire church erupted in applause. But it wasn't just applause for a couple getting married. It was applause for a couple who had found a way to grow together, rather than one trying to diminish the other. The celebration was exactly as Amanda had dreamed, relaxed, joyful, full of music and dancing. Thomas, who had always been more reserved, surprised everyone by dancing with his wife as if there were no tomorrow. During the party, many people approached them to offer congratulations, but not just for the wedding. They praised the example they had set, that it's possible to change, grow and become a better person because of someone's love. Margaret, Amanda's 85-year-old grandmother, approached her during the celebration. "My dear, you were very brave today." "How so, Grandma?" "For holding Thomas's hand when he reached for you, but also for showing you were willing to let go if needed." "Grandma, did you know I was thinking of running away?" "Of course I did, child. Do you think a woman reaches 85 without learning to read people? I saw the despair in your eyes months ago." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because some lessons can only be learned by living through them, and you both needed to learn this one." At that moment, Thomas approached them. "Margaret, may I steal my wife for a dance?" "Of course, my boy, but first let me give you some old woman wisdom." "Go ahead, Margaret." "Marriage isn't about trapping someone. It's about choosing to fly together in the same direction. And if one day you two want to fly separate ways, talk. Always talk." "We'll remember that, Grandma," Amanda said, kissing her grandmother's cheek. Thomas and Amanda stepped onto the dance floor, and as they danced, he asked, "Do you regret staying?" "No." "And do you regret letting me choose?" "No. In fact, it was the hardest and easiest thing I've ever done." "How so?" "Hard because I had to face my fears. Easy because it was the right thing to do." They kept dancing, and Amanda realized that for the first time, she felt truly seen and respected by the man she loved. It wasn't the idealized version of herself that Thomas had imagined. It was her, with her dreams, ambitions, and determination. Later that night, as the party wound down, Jessica approached Amanda. "Friend, I need to tell you something." "Go ahead, Jess." "I was wrong." "About what?" "About Thomas. I thought he'd never change, that he'd always be that controlling man who only thought of himself. And now? Now I see people can change when they truly want to, and when they have a strong enough reason. Thomas was always a good man, Jess. He was just afraid." "Afraid of what?" "That he wouldn't be enough for me. That if I discovered who I really was, I wouldn't want to stay with him." "And did you talk about that?" "We talked about everything today, fears, dreams, expectations, what we really want from life." "And what do you want?" "We want to be true partners, not just husband and wife, but adventure companions." Jessica smiled. "Then I think you'll be very happy." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. When the party ended, Thomas and Amanda went to the hotel where they'd spend their first night as husband and wife. In the room, Amanda sat on the bed, still in her wedding dress. "Thomas, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "What did you feel when you heard I was going to run away?" Thomas sat beside her. First, anger, then fear, then desperation, and finally, clarity. Clarity about what? About the fact that if you were willing to run away, it was because I had failed as a partner. And that if I truly loved you, I needed to set you free, even if it meant losing you. And now, what do you feel now? Gratitude. Gratitude? For you having the courage to almost run away, because if it weren't for that, we would have gotten married today and probably separated in a few years. Now we got married knowing exactly who each of us is and what each of us wants. Amanda took off her veil and lay down next to Thomas. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "I spent months planning how I'd run away. imagining what my life would be like in New York City, far from everything and everyone. But now that I know I can leave any time, I don't feel like running away anymore. Why? Because now it's not a prison. It's a choice. And I choose to stay. I choose to stay too. And I choose to support you in everything you want to do. Even if I want to take on a project that takes me away for a few months, even then. Because now I understand I can't stop you from being who you are. And who you are makes me want to be a better person. They stayed silent for a few minutes, just enjoying the moment and the peace they had finally found. Amanda? Yes. You said you wanted to travel, to see different places. I did. How about we start with our honeymoon? Instead of going to that resort I picked, how about you choose the destination? Amanda smiled. Actually, I have a better idea. What? How about we go to New York City? To New York City, why? For me to see the company that almost took me away from you, and for you to see it's not a scary place, it's just a city with opportunities. You'd do that? I would. And who knows, maybe we can explore other cities along the way. Take a road trip? I'd love that. Then it's settled. Our honeymoon will be an adventure. The following Monday, Amanda received the official offer to lead the opening of the architecture firm's branch in Chicago. It was everything she had dreamed of, a leadership role, an excellent salary, and the chance to build something from scratch. She and Thomas talked about the offer for hours. He asked questions, suggested ideas, showed genuine interest in her work. It was a radical change from the man who, just days before, had tried to convince her to turn down a similar opportunity. Are you going to accept? Thomas asked, after she finished reading the entire proposal. I will, but first I want to make sure you're truly comfortable with it. Amanda, I'm not just comfortable, I'm proud. You're going to be amazing at this job. Even knowing it'll mean long hours, travel, evening meetings, even knowing that. And I'll support you through all of it. How? I'll take on more responsibilities at home. I'll cook on the days you come home late. I'll organize our schedule so we have quality time together. I'll be the husband you deserve, not the one I thought you needed. Amanda kissed him. I love you, Thomas. And I love even more the man you're becoming. I love you too, and I promise I won't stop working to be a better person. 3 months after the wedding, Amanda was leading the project to open the firm's branch in Chicago. It was challenging, sometimes stressful, but she had never felt so professionally fulfilled. Thomas kept every promise he had made. On the days she came home late, she found dinner ready and him eager to hear about her day. On weekends, they explored new places around the city together. One day, Amanda came home and found Thomas on the computer, researching something. What are you doing? Remember how you said you wanted to travel to experience different cultures? I do. I'm researching travel itineraries for our next vacation. I thought we could go to Italy and France. What do you think? That sounds amazing. But wait, aren't you afraid I'll want to stay there forever? Thomas laughed. I am. But I've learned that fear can't control my decisions. And besides, if you want to stay, we'll talk and figure out what's possible. Really? Really? Maybe I can work from there for a few months. Or maybe we can take long trips a few times a year. The important thing is that we decide together. Amanda sat on his lap and kissed him. You know you're not getting rid of me that easily, right? Why not? Because now that I know I could leave any time, I've realized the place I most want to be is by your side. Really, really. But I want to be by your side as your partner, not your prisoner. And that's exactly how I want you, as my partner in everything. 6 months after the wedding, they took their trip to Europe. They spent 3 weeks exploring cities, cultures, trying different foods, and living adventures together. During the trip, they talked about future plans. Amanda had decided she wanted to start her own architecture firm in a few years. Thomas fully supported the idea, and even offered to help with the administrative side. Aren't you afraid my firm might be more successful than yours? Amanda asked one night as they walked through the streets of Paris. No, I'm afraid it won't be successful enough. What do you mean? Because I know your potential, Amanda. I know how talented and determined you are, and I want the whole world to see it too. You've really changed, you know? I haven't changed. I just stopped letting fear dictate who I am. And who are you? I'm the man lucky enough to be married to the most amazing woman in the world, and every day I'm grateful she chose to stay, even though she had the courage to leave. A year after the wedding, they renewed their vows in an intimate ceremony, just for family. This time there was no almost running away, no drama. Just a couple who had learned to grow together while respecting each other's individuality. During the ceremony, Barbara gave a speech that moved everyone. A year ago, I watched my son almost lose the woman he loved because of pride and fear. Today, I see two adults who've learned that true love isn't about possession. It's about choosing to walk side by side in the same direction, respecting each other's dreams and ambitions. Margaret, Amanda's grandmother, also spoke. My granddaughter taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling afraid and still doing what's right. And what's right is fighting for our dreams and the people we love, sometimes at the same time. After the ceremony, Amanda and Thomas sat in her family's garden, watching the sunset. Have you ever imagined what our lives would be like if I had actually run away that day? Amanda asked. I have. You'd be in New York City, probably happy and successful, and I'd be here, probably bitter and alone, blaming you for leaving me. You wouldn't blame yourself? It'd probably take me years to realize the fault was mine, and by then it might have been too late to do anything about it. And now? How do you picture our future? I picture you starting your firm and becoming one of the most respected architects in the country. I picture us traveling the world, seeing incredible places. I picture us having kids when we decide the time is right, not because it's expected. And you? How do you see yourself in that future? I see myself by your side, supporting you in everything, celebrating your victories, comforting you in defeats. I see myself growing every day to be worthy of having you as my wife. Thomas? Yes? Thank you. For what? For letting me go, even when I didn't leave. For understanding that loving me meant setting me free. And for becoming the man I always knew you could be. Thank you for having the courage to almost run away, because that's what woke me up to reality. And thank you for choosing to stay when you realized I was willing to change. They stood there, hand in hand, watching the sky darken and the stars appear. It was the perfect ending to a day that had begun so dramatically. 2 years after the wedding, Amanda opened her own architecture firm. Thomas kept his promise to help with the administrative side and became her business partner. Together, they built a solid, respected company. The firm grew quickly, and soon they received offers for projects in other cities and even other countries. This time, when the opportunity arose to work on a project in Italy for 6 months, they openly discussed all the possibilities. What do you think? Amanda asked, showing Thomas the proposal. I think it's amazing. Italy's always been our dream, but it would mean being away for a long time. Or it could mean an incredible adventure we get to live together. You'd leave everything here to come with me? Amanda, leave isn't the right word. It's expanding our horizons. Besides, we can keep the business running here and use this experience to grow even more. Are you sure? I am. Are you? I am. But this time it's not running away. It's a choice we're making together. Exactly. They accepted the project in Italy and spent the best 6 months of their lives working and traveling through Europe. When they returned, the company had grown even more, and they'd become a reference for international projects. 5 years after the wedding, on an ordinary evening, Amanda was organizing papers at home when she found a folded sheet at the back of a drawer. It was one of the letters she'd written to Thomas the day she'd planned to leave. She read it silently, remembering the desperate, suffocated woman who'd written those words. It felt like reading about a completely different person. Thomas came home and found her holding the letter. What's that? One of the letters I wrote you the day I was going to leave. Can I read it? Of course. Thomas read the letter, filled with pain, frustration, and despair. When he finished, his eyes were damp. Amanda, I'm so sorry you felt that way. Don't be. The woman who wrote that letter needed to go through that to find herself. and you needed to almost lose me to become who you really are. Do you still hold any resentment from that time? None. That time brought us here, and here is exactly where I want to be. With me, with you, but mostly with myself. For the first time in my life, I know exactly who I am and what I want. And what I want includes you, but it doesn't depend on you. Does that make you happy? It makes me whole. That night, they burned the letter together, symbolically letting go of their old selves. The future ahead was uncertain, but they were ready to face it together, as true partners. Years passed, and Amanda and Thomas's story became legendary among their friends and family. Whenever someone struggled in their relationship, the two were held up as proof that change, growth, and transformation for love are possible. Barbara, now in her 70s, often said she'd learned a valuable lesson from her children's experience. It's never too late to fight for your dreams, and true love always finds a way to flourish when there's respect and freedom. Margaret, who passed away peacefully at 90, left a letter for Amanda that said, "My granddaughter, you taught me that courage isn't about being fearless, but about doing what's right despite the fear. Keep soaring high, but never forget you chose to fly alongside someone who loves you exactly as you are." Amanda and Thomas's company became one of the most respected in the country. They worked on projects around the world, always together, always as partners. She never felt the urge to run away again because she knew she could go anywhere, and he would be by her side, supporting her dreams. 15 years after that dramatic day that nearly ended their relationship, Amanda was giving a talk on female entrepreneurship to a group of young architects. One of the attendees asked a question that made her reflect on her entire journey. "Amanda, what was the most important moment of your career?" Amanda thought for a few seconds before answering. "It was the moment I almost threw everything away because I was afraid to fight for what I wanted. And it was also the moment I discovered I had the courage to do whatever it took to be happy." Can you tell us more about that? I can. On my wedding day, I had my bags packed to run away. I was going to leave everything behind, my fiancé, my family, my friends, because I thought it was the only way to follow my dreams. And what happened? My husband overheard me talking about running away, and instead of trying to stop me, he set me free. He said I should go if that's what would make me happy. And did you go? No. Because I realized the problem wasn't the marriage. The problem was that I wasn't being respected as a person. When that changed, the marriage became my choice, not my prison. And what was the lesson? That we should never give up who we are to please someone else. And that true love doesn't ask us to be less than we can be. It asks us to be exactly who we are. After the talk, Amanda returned home and found Thomas making dinner. It was an ordinary scene that had repeated itself for years, but it still made her smile. "How was the talk?" he asked, kissing her forehead. "Good. I told our story." "The good part or the bad part?" "I told them there is no bad part. There's only the journey that brought us here." "And do you regret anything about that journey?" "Nothing. Not planning to run away, not staying, not the hard times we went through to get where we are. Not even marrying a stubborn, controlling man. I didn't marry a stubborn, controlling man. I married a man who had the potential to be amazing and found the courage to change. And now? What do you want for our future? I want to keep growing by your side. I want to face new challenges together. I want to grow old with you, but without losing myself in the process. Deal." They ate dinner talking about their company's projects, the places they still wanted to visit, the dreams they still wanted to fulfill. It was an ordinary conversation between a couple who had found the balance between being together and being individuals. Later that night, as they got ready for bed, Amanda looked in the mirror and saw herself as she was now, a fulfilled, respected, happy woman. She was so different from the desperate woman who had almost run away on her wedding day. "Thomas, yes? Thank you for letting me find who I really am. Thank you for teaching me what real love is." They lay down, and Amanda realized that for the first time in a long while, she wasn't making plans to escape anything. She was exactly where she wanted to be, with whom she wanted to be, being exactly who she wanted to be. The end of the story wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of a truly shared life, where two people chose to grow together without losing themselves, where love became freedom, and freedom became the foundation for an even deeper love. Years later, when telling the story to their grandchildren, Amanda and Thomas always ended it the same way. And then we discovered that marriage isn't about tying someone down. It's about choosing to fly together in the same direction while respecting each other's wings. End of story. Now tell me what you thought of the story. Do you think Amanda made the right decision by giving Thomas a second chance? Leave your opinion in the comments. I love hearing what you all think about these stories of overcoming challenges.